Kurt, for this week of PBT Extra, we're going to go straight to game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. What a series. We were talking about this. This is going to be a great series. It's a rematch of the bubble. And it has lived up to the hype in that first game. I thought, first half of the first game. Miami Heat ended up winning 118-107. What were your biggest takeaways?
First off, we talked about this before. Jimmy Butler had to play to the level of Jason Tatum for them to have a chance, right? Like, they were going to have to be able to match best player in the series. Tatum absolutely, had a nice first half, 21 points in the first half, but it was Butler in the second half. 41 points, steals, rebounds, did everything right, really led that team. And if he's playing like that, they have a real chance in this series. So, I think you're going to get a bounce-back game from Boston in game two. But, wow, what a game one from Butler. What a step up in energy level, Corey, in the second half.
Yeah, the third quarter. I think that's the whole story. Before we get there, though, I just want to say Jimmy Butler almost had a double-double. He was 41, 9, and 5 was his stat line. He was, like you said, impacting every level of the game. But, yeah, so the third quarter for me stands out. The Heat had 39 points. At one point, outscoring the Celtics 22-2 going down the stretch there. But, the Celtics only had 14 points in the third quarter. So I did some research. You know me, I like history. So I went back in the day. Every single game this playoffs for the Heat, guess how many third quarters they've lost? And you can draw any number you want.
Any?
Yeah, one by 1 point against the Hawks, game 5, and Jimmy Butler wasn't even playing.
Oh.
So it's so they own the third quarter. And it brings to my mind in football, there's this concept, right? If you can score at the end of the first half and get the ball back at the beginning of the second half, you're basically, it's like a continuous series, right? It's almost like you're kind of cheating the system a little bit. And I think the Heat are kind of borrowing that football kind of strategy into the NBA and say, look, we own the third quarter. If we can have a nice little run in the second quarter, that's a 22-2 run third quarter, but including what we did in the second quarter, this is more in the 30s, 40s. So I love how they're bringing in different strategies from different sports, at least from my perspective, and impacting the game.
My favorite stat out of all that, by the way, third quarter points, Jimmy Butler 17, Celtics 14. Like, he was just, again, like you said, though, they only scored 14 points. The defensive intensity cranked up. They were physical. They made steals. Boston didn't deal with it, which I think that's where they really missed Marcus Smart and Al Horford. More than anything, it was the calming veteran guys in that moment to settle them down and not let it get to a 22-2 run. They got just kind of the doors blown off them in the third quarter, and they were never able to recover. And Butler led that. It was just a really, when you're defending like that and holding them down, and then you can get those quick buckets in transition and some easy points and some cross matches where you've got some advantages, that's where the 39 points comes from. They were able to take advantage early in the shot clock or on mismatches. They wasn't just making tough shots. Because of their defense and then pushing the ball, they were able to just create really good looks.
Yeah, and you think about how these two teams match up. I was looking at one stat that came up to me, blocks. It was 6-7. I was like, man, this is the third quarter. There are all these blocks happening. Jimmy Butler's getting blocked by Jason Tatum on the 3-point line, and then they're going back and forth steals. Jason Tatum's getting a steal. Jimmy Butler's getting a steal. It's like it's pretty fascinating when you look at even beyond in the bench too. Peyton Pritchard making big shots, scoring 18 points. Max Strus doing what he does so well. It's almost like every punch is there. Robert Williams, Bam Adebayo. It's almost like shot for shot, right? So what separates someone, and when you don't have the defensive player of the year to limit Jimmy Butler, we know he can do 40-plus point performances. He's already done it at least twice this playoff series. This playoff run for the Heat, and he just put another one up almost effortlessly. We also know Jason Tatum can go 40-plus points any given day. But like I said, when Marcus Smart's on the sideline, that dramatically affects the game plan. From my perspective, it's like, man, we're missing one of our biggest weapons.
Yeah, the Heat were able to execute their plan, like I said, and push that ball in the third quarter. As the defensive pressure ramped up, you talked about Peyton Pritchard having 18, but as the pressure ramped up, it wasn't a good Jaylen Brown night, and they're going to need more out of him. There was stuff like Peyton Pritchard isolations. If that's where Boston is, they're in trouble. That's not what Peyton Pritchard does in it. He knocked down some threes and he got some points. but they got so far away from what they want to do as a game plan. And I don't think we're going to see that from Boston again. They're too well coached, they're just too disciplined a team to make those kind of mistakes again. And then they're also, by the way, to be fair, there is a fatigue factor. They played a game 7 2 nights before, had to get on a plane, fly to Miami. Miami was rested and ready, and I think that really showed in the second half.
And it's also important to mention that Jason Tatum only had 8 points in the second half. We probably won't see that again the rest of the series. So it's just all around for Boston, but Miami gets game 1. Now we have game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, Dallas, Golden State. This series, Luka versus Steph. Do I need to say anything else, Kurt? I mean, what's going to happen tonight?
Luka's going to get a lot of points first. I just think the funny thing is, Luka's maybe the best player left in the postseason. I mean, Jimmy Butler and Tatum and everybody will have their state, but Luka's in that conversation. Like, he's playing at that level right now. And not only is he putting up points and had a great game, game 7 against the Suns. Historically, when you watch the Warriors, they're kind of like, all right, you know what? We'll let the star get a bunch of points. Like, if he puts up 44, fine. If we can limit his assists, if we don't let Brunson get going, if we don't let Dinwiddie get going, if we don't let Kleba have open shots from the corner, we can limit everything else. And if his assists aren't racking up, if he isn't getting everyone else going, we'll live with kind of a high point total and think we can outscore them. I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can do that. It's a lot of pressure on all those Dallas role players, Dorian Finney-Smith and everybody else, to kind of step up and make shots and make plays when the opportunities present themselves. On the other side, the Warriors are great. The theory, we've talked about this, like the ideal Warriors, the peak Warriors, the theory of them, the Warriors from the fourth quarter of game 6 against Memphis can win a title. But we haven't seen that Warriors team consistently, and that's what concerns me. If they're turning the ball over and sloppy in this series, they're going to be in a lot more trouble. This is a much tougher out, a good defensive team. I think that you've got to see a more focused Warriors group, and to me, that's what this comes down to. It's ultimately a little bit on the Warriors of can they and will they raise their level consistently, because they can't kind of flip the switch on and off like they tried to do against Memphis.
Absolutely. It's interesting when you look at where Dallas is mentally right now, right? It's almost like they have nothing to lose playing with house money. Whereas the Warriors, they're in a different scenario as other teams we've seen, like the 76ers or the Nets, for instance, where you have these super teams with, future Hall of Famers playing together. But the thing about the Warriors is that they've already had the dynasty. They've all played together, but it's only been a few months together with this roster, given Clay's return post-injury. So, and Draymond Green also had those injuries as well. So when we look at this Warriors team, I wonder if they're going to have the same type of, slow to build up that we've seen other, super teams have, just because this team with Jordan Poole and Gary Payton, not Gary Payton, he's out, but with Jordan Poole, with all these guys around them, Wiggins, this Warriors team, although they have the core that's played together, they don't necessarily have as much time on court together as they would like. Whereas the Mavs, I understand that they got Dinwiddie halfway through the season as well, but they just have like this, it's us against the world mentality. And to kind of know what you don't know what you don't know. It's kind of like you just go out there and have fun, and just Luka has 35, Spencer Dinwiddie just playing with a chip on his shoulder. I wonder if that's going to edge out this Warriors team that doesn't have the continuity that we're so accustomed to them seeing.
Yeah, if Luka's smiling a lot, that's a bad sign for the Warriors, right? Like, he's at his best when he's having fun and things are flowing and it's free, like it was in game 7. If they can make him frustrated, that's going to be interesting. I'll tell you my bellwethers in this. Turnovers for the Warriors. They can't be sloppy with the ball again. But also, you mentioned these guys. It's the bench. It's Jordan Poole. It's Spencer Dinwiddie. Which team is getting the points and the minutes and the bump from their bench that really lifts them up? Because, look, we know Jordan Poole can put up numbers, but if he is out there, if they run that, I love Zach Lowe calls it the pool party lineup. I love that. The 3-guard, if they run that 3-guard lineup with Jordan Poole, when Luka's on the floor, Luka will hunt him. They are merciless about that. I mean, you have to love that about Jason's kids' teams. And with Luka, they've turned him loose. They're going to hunt the mismatch. And if it's Curry, you can kind of, it's going to be Curry. But if it's Poole and they can play him off the floor, it's a problem. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, he has great games, and he has games where he doesn't seem to impact anything. And they need more of the former and less of the latter. They need him to impact games in this series because the margins are really tight. Like, to me, this is a coin flip series.
I mean, coming off of that past series too, where it shocked me, and I would assume most of the basketball world when they beat the Suns. Doing that, it feels like that was almost this is a team that went to the finals. That was almost the finals. The rest of it, what else can they throw at us? We'd be the best team in the NBA. So from my perspective, mentally, I love where the Mavs are at. And then the last thing I think is interesting before we move on, Kurt, is just I love the way that if you're going to try, we're going to let Luka, just hemorrhage us. Well, that's not the best strategy. You're going to put up like a 40-point triple-double. And then when you do what the Suns did and say, okay, let's try to limit him. Let's try to guard, trap him right after he crosses half court. He's one of the best passers in the game. So if anyone around him is remotely, shooting well, then you're out of luck. And that's what happened against the Suns when Spencer Dinwiddie just had 20-something points in the first half. It was just, what can you do? What can you do? It's
hard to trap and slow down Luka, in part because he's 6'8", right? Like he's got that Magic Johnson. I'll just throw it, and LeBron has this. Trap me, I'll pass over the top. I've got, I can still make this happen. And since the day he entered the league, what has always impressed me about Luka, you can't rush him. You can't get him off his tempo, right? Like, he's going to play at this kind of slow, methodical. James Harden was this way. Pete James Harden in Houston. This is my speed. You are not going to be able to take me off of this speed no matter what you do. It's really impressive, and I think the Warriors can try to speed him up, but good luck. I like I said, I think this is going to be 7 games and fascinating.
So let's just throw out some MVP predictions, right? Let's go back to Eastern Conference. Who do you think would be the MVP of that final series?
I'm still going to go with Tatum. I picked the Celtics in 6. I thought this was game 1 was always going to be tough, playing, not having as much prep time, having to fly, 2 days after an emotional game 7. Like, that was always going to be a tough ask. And then with Smart out, and he might be back for game 2, Horford out, it's unlikely he's back for 2 and maybe not 3 because he's got to clear COVID protocols. I always thought that was a tough one, but I think they bounce back in this series. And I think Tatum has, again, I think he's established himself as a top 5 player. So what about you? I picked Boston. I'm not coming off it after 1, but I got a lot more nervous. So where are you?
I got a lot more nervous. I love how honest you are, Kurt. Yeah, I feel like I've underestimated Boston too many times. But I do think Jason Tatum is clearly in that giant slaying kind of mode where if this was some sort of medieval book, of like a knight, he is doing it like he's slaying every dragon around the world. It's like there's very few dragons left for him to slay. And so I think if he wins this series and if he goes on and wins a title, to me, the torch has been passed. It's his league. It's no longer Giannis' league. It's Jason Tatum's league. We're in, under the reign of Tatum. So that's fascinating to me. But I personally, the way that Jimmy Butler's playing right now, I think has been indicative of the way he and this team rolls, which is under the radar in one of the biggest cities in the country. I don't know how they do it, but Jimmy Butler has played better, in my opinion, this playoffs than when they went to the finals. And that should be frightening, I think, to most people. But for some reason, we're not necessarily focused on that. So I think Jimmy Butler is going to be my MVP candidate from that series. Now, what about the conference finals?
Yeah, in the West, I picked, like I said, I think this is a coin flip. I picked the Mavericks, so I'll say Luka, although Luka's going to put up Luka numbers because he is. But I still think whether Brunson and Dinwiddie and some other guys have big games will be more telling. Like, does he have the support? It can't be Luka against the world, against the Warriors. That won't be good enough. And so I will stick with Dallas in 6 and say Luka's the MVP. But I wouldn't bet $1 on that. Like, I don't feel that is the least confident I have felt about it in a long time, man.
Yeah, I got to go Steph as my MVP.
Yeah,
it's hard. He's won a few of those awards, so I think he's going to be Steph. Now, when we think about the NBA draft lottery, and this was special before the Eastern Conference Finals began. Orlando Magic got the first spot. The draft order was just, I'm going to do the top four for you: Orlando, Oklahoma City in number 2, Houston with 3, Sacramento at 4. Overall, what surprised you? What do you think? Which teams do you think won?
Well, I think obviously you get the number 1 pick, you win. Orlando has a nice core. Like, this is suddenly things get interesting there, right? Like, Franz Wagner had a really good rookie year. Cole Anthony took a step up last year. They've got Jalen Suggs, who I think is better than he showed, and will have a better sophomore season. Markelle Fultz is still there. He's kind of developed into a player. And we kind of forget the best of that group was Jonathan Isaac, like a defensive force who missed all of last year with the knee injury. He comes back. Now you add the number 1 pick. Suddenly you've got a really nice potential core there. There's a lot of talk about them taking Jabari Smith out of Auburn instead of Chet Holmgren. Jabari Smith fits right in with they need shooting. They need to space the floor with bigs. Isaac doesn't do that. Smith shot 42% from 3 as a 6'10", power forward last year, like center. Like, he comes right in as a modern NBA big, and so I like that fit. That's a really interesting team. I think Oklahoma City is going to get a winner. We'll see. They always draft well, and I think the other winner with potential there was Sacramento. They jump up to number 4. That's still, like, there's a lot of scouts that I talk to think there's a 4 or 5 deep draft before there's kind of that drop to the next tier. And that becomes a valuable pick for a team who just hired a coach in Mike Brown and told all these guys when they were hiring him, we expect a Minnesota Timberwolves-like jump. We want to be in the postseason conversation. We're not doing this again. We expect that kind of leap. Well, you either draft somebody really good at number 4, or and they can take on some salary. Hey, we can trade that pick for a player who can help them win right now and fit with. Look, remember they brought in Sabonis. They've got. I think you'll get a better year out of De'Aaron Fox. You bring in somebody else who they like. I think they did well there. We'll see. They're the Kings. We'll see what they do with it. But was there anybody else that? Outside of Damian Lillard's reaction, what cracked you up at this, or what did caught your eye?
Well, San Antonio Spurs getting the 9th. But I think with 1, 2, 3, it's pretty interesting. You look at Chet Holmgren. He's a unique type of player. Just look at they just don't make many human beings like him in the world. And then you add in his basketball skill set. That's something definitely to look into. And the thing that's interesting when I watch him play, though, it reminds me you could either go 2 different ways. It's like you either go Kevin Durant or Kristaps Porzingis. And I think it's I don't know which one he'll be, and I don't think it's very difficult. But if you're you're a team, I think you got to at least try. You got to try. He's got to manage expectations better. So I think with Oklahoma City, I think they go Chet Holmgren. I think that would be a really interesting bet for them because ostensibly, what they've done getting all those picks is they can actually build a franchise, and it seems like they actually have patience. Sam Presti's like doing something over time and actually has the ability to invest and experiment and tinker around the edges. You don't see that in every franchise where there's almost like, man, there's no timetable really that is pressing. So I think Chet Holmgren would fit in very well. Just if I was him, I'd be like, I hope I go to Oklahoma City. I have time to develop. Where Kristaps didn't have that in New York, and he didn't have that in Dallas. But Kevin Durant had that. He was in Oklahoma City for a long time. So my point is that I think that's probably the best place for him. And then my thing is Houston. What's really interesting is if they could get someone to help, Jalen Green out. I think Paolo Banchero would be a pretty good 1-2 punch in Houston. A young team you can build around. It's a whole, Rafael Stone, a whole new kind of era there. I think that's pretty exciting.
I'm with you, by the way. Banchero and Green as your 1-2 punch. It's young. You're going to lose some games again this year, but there's real potential there.
Yeah, down the road, I think right now people are looking at Memphis as like you're kind of like, because it's all blueprints, right? So people, I think, looking at Memphis and saying, okay, well, what did Zach Kleiman do? What did they kind of do here? They got Durant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. You got John Morant and Desmond Bane and, you know, Dylan Brooks. Like, you have, like, but Ja's your guy. You know, if you believe Jalen's your guy, how do you build around him with the young guys and kind of like think, okay, what does the next 5-10 years look like for us? If we want to be the next Memphis, I think Jalen Green, Paolo Banchero would be a great one-two punch in today's young NBA. A couple top draft picks back to back. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's how you build, man. If you put in a good development system and draft the right guys.